Hello. Hello. So I am super excited to be talking about how to build a client base as a coach. So I'm really excited to be talking about this today because this is one of the topics that we've been asked about so many times that I know it'll be really helpful. So just 1 second, because I want to make sure that I'm going live on Instagram at the same time as Facebook. And as always, I'm Rebecca Lockwood, your neuro-linguistic programming trainer, hypnosis trainer, and breakthrough coach trainer. And I also actually train a few other modalities as well, including positive psychology, energy, and timeline therapy. So I'm Rebecca Lockwood, and so what we're going to do is we're going to chat through how to build a client base as a coach. So I put out a survey a couple of days ago. I'm constantly asking you, what do you need help with? What is your biggest challenge right now? And answering them questions, basically. So today we're talking about how to build your client base as a coach. So when it comes to building your client base as a coach, we firstly need to understand our customer, right? We need to understand who is our customer, right? Who is our customer? Who is our potential customer who may be interested in working with me, and really do the research around who your customer is and what the help is that they need. So when it comes to doing the research, you can do this in a number of different ways. So you can either put out surveys using free software like Google Forms or Monkey Survey. I think it's one that I've used before, or even if you use Dubsado or a project management software like that, you can also use that. You can also do a lot of research around your customer using Facebook groups, and this is a really, really powerful way of doing it. And I think Facebook groups actually must be one of my favorites, because Facebook groups will really support you when you're doing the research around your customer to really understand who they are, what they need help with, how you can help them, what they think the biggest challenges that they have, and what they think is the solution to that challenge, right? So when people join your Facebook group, so if it's your own Facebook group, you can ask them questions upon joining, and in those questions you can ask them, what's your biggest challenge around X? So for example, if you're a life coach and you help people with anxiety, you could say, what is your biggest challenge around feeling anxious? Or if you were a confidence coach, you could say, what is your biggest challenge around confidence? Or if you're a mindset coach, you could say, what is your biggest challenge around your mindset? Right? So if you've got your own Facebook group, you can really utilize that and ask people questions upon joining the group to really understand and find out what is the problem that they've got. You can also, if you're thinking, right, what if I don't want to have a Facebook group, right? If that's you and you're thinking that, then firstly, I would suggest having your own Facebook group for the purpose of research, because it is a really powerful way to keep in touch with your customer, really understand what they need help with and how you can help them, and just kind of put out taster stuff to really understand. So like at the beginning of this week, I pulled together a few questions that we've been asked, and I posted it in the Facebook group, and I said, this week we're doing some free live training series. Which one of these would be the most helpful for you? And I listed them out, and I said, or is there anything else that I've not covered that you would like to know? So it's really powerful. But you can also use other people's Facebook groups as well. So when you go into other people's Facebook groups, you'll see that there's an option to search. So you can search in there, and you can literally think of like maybe 3 keywords for your business. So, excuse me. If you're a life coach that helps people with confidence, you could write confidence. Or if you are someone and you help people with like self-belief or feeling good about themselves, or helping with imposter syndrome or self-sabotage or things like this, you can search what people are saying in that Facebook group and have a look at the kind of conversations that people are having around these kind of things. So it's really important to understand your customer. So ask them, what did they think is the biggest challenge that they have? And ask them, what did they think is the solution to their problem? And ask them also, where do they look for when it comes to getting help with that problem? You then need to ask yourself, right? Ask yourself, is there something or is there things that I need to educate my customer on before they would consider working with me? So for example, if you are a life coach, for example, or a mindset coach, and you help people who may feel anxious or maybe feeling anxious or worried or anything like this, someone who may feel anxious may only just consider speaking to a doctor, right? They may not know that they can get help somewhere else. And I think this is quite common as well. So if somebody, for example, feels anxious and they would go to a doctor to speak to about the problem that they've got. Now, I think definitely that's relevant. However, what you can do is you can educate people through your marketing content, your educational marketing content, about the kind of things that you can help people with, the kind of results that they can get through working with a life coach, so that they know that when they're looking for the help with that solution, when they're looking for the solution to their problem, they can also look for help in you as well. Okay, so ask yourself, like, how can I educate my customer or my potential customer on how I can help them in the situation that they've got. So number 2, be consistent with your marketing. So consistency is key when it comes to marketing, right? Consistency is key when it comes to marketing. Now, I just want to touch on this because this came up as a topic a couple of days ago, and I saw somebody on Instagram posting about how to find out if somebody's if you should work with that business. And it said, and this was like all businesses, and it said that if you are looking for a business to work with, you should look at the social media and look at how much engagement they're getting, because this means that they'll be a good business to work with. Now, I want you to flip that on the reverse and think about this. If you see a business showing up consistently week in, week out with no engagement, and they still show up every single week with no engagement, how does that mean that they're not necessarily going to be the right place to work with? All right, come in. A cup of tea. Oh, that's nice. Neil's come to say hello. Are you saying hello? We're on Facebook Live.
Aye.
Thank you.
Alright.
That's very nice. A cup of tea. Oh, we're also on Instagram as well, aren't we? Bless him. So when you think about, like, if you were to look at a business that got no engagement but they still showed up every single week, like, honestly, how consistent does that show that they are? How dedicated does that show that they are? They're still showing up even if they're not seeing engagement on their content. So that's really important to think about that as well. So when it comes to being consistent, then consistency is key when it comes to marketing. Ensure that you're talking directly to your customer in your marketing. So from the research that you've done around your customer and who they are, what they need help with, what they think the solution is to the problem, make sure that you're creating your content with that in mind, and you're using their words, their phrases, their questions, and you're answering the questions that they've got. Yeah, so they know that you're talking directly to them. They know that that you get them. They know and understand that you really understand their problem and you can help them, and you're the right person to help them as well. So think about, like, what do they need to hear, and how can you create content to communicate with them? So kind of going back to the last point, like, if somebody said, for example, whenever they feel anxious, the first place they think about going is to speak to the doctor, then you could create content that educates people around other ways and other methods to get support and help with feelings of anxiety without necessarily going to speak to a doctor, or alongside, like, as a complementary therapy, for example. So you could create content that really educates people around that as well. So when it comes to being consistent with your marketing, consistency is key. Ensure that you're talking directly to your customer with your marketing. What do they need to hear, and how can you create content to communicate with them? And do at least one piece of content per week, and be consistent with that, even if you're not getting engagement, right? That engagement isn't necessarily the key, right? And we'll come to the next step about why in a minute. But every single week you want to be showing up, whether it's via video, whether it's on a blog post. I would recommend doing video. And if you're watching this and you're thinking, yeah, but I don't really want to do video, I would challenge you to think about what are the limiting beliefs that you have around showing up and doing video and being visible, right? Because I know I definitely had a limiting belief around showing up, and I had a limiting belief around fear limiting belief and a fear around judgment from others. But really it came down to a judgment that I had for myself right at the beginning of my business. So I did a lot of work on that, and I supported myself to get rid of limiting beliefs around that, and I was then able to show up consistently and do video. So if you're thinking, well, I don't really want to do video, I'd just say to you, like, think about and ask yourself, like, firstly, what are the stories you're telling yourself about why you can't do video? And secondly, what are the limiting beliefs that you have that are coming up that's stopping you from being visible and doing video in your business? If, you know, it's just not your personality type and you just don't want to do it full stop, and that's it, then you can still do a blog post, right? Still do a blog post using all of these steps and apply it as well. So make sure it's one piece of content per week and be consistent with that. Number 3, always have a call to action. And this is why we're not looking necessarily for engagement. We're looking for people to reach out to us and take their next steps with your call to action. So your call to action could be, for example, someone to reach out to you and speak to you one-to-one about working together. It could be joining a free training series that you're doing. So we've got a Start Your Coaching Business free training this week and next week, which I'm so excited about. If you're on Instagram, you'll have to pop me a message for the link to join it. If you're on Facebook, it's in the notes, and I hope I'm putting it in the right direction. On my video, it's that way, but I don't know how you can all see it. It might be above me, but in them notes anyway, you'll find the link to join the Start Your Coaching Business free training. So it could be a call to action like that, right? Excuse me. And if you're on the podcast, because we use this video, we use the audio for the podcast as well, then it's in the show notes. So always have a call to action, and that call to action could be something that leads them to your email list. It could be a download, it could be a PDF, it could be a booklet, something that helps them and answers the question that they've got, you know, back to when it comes to understanding your customer. Number 4, build an email list, right? Build an email list. By building an email list, what you're doing is you're building a base, right? You're building a community of potential customers, people who may become your customer, people who may never become your customer, people who you can support, and a percentage of them people will naturally take the next steps with you because it'll be the right thing for them to do. A big percentage of them will just stay on there and, you know, gain knowledge and support through the marketing content that you create, right? So by building an email list, you're creating a community of potential clients that you can educate and support, right? Some of them will take the next steps and some of them won't, but that's okay, right? That's okay. Because quite often, you know, I've seen people say, oh, well, I don't want people just to download all my freebies, right? But the thing is, them people are still very relevant for you in your business. So for one, they're part of your community. For two, you're still supporting them with the educational marketing content that you're creating. And three, they'll be the people that will also recommend you to other people. And then the people that they recommend may be the people that then take action and become a customer, right? So there's always, like, it's really important to have a different, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a versatile, is that the right word? Community. So yeah, and once you're building your email list, lost my words then. Once you're building your email list, be consistent with that marketing, right? So we spoke about being consistent with your marketing, creating a piece of marketing content every week. Then you can use that piece of marketing content to send out to your email list consistently. I recommend that you send something at least once a week, using the content that you created weekly. So you don't even have to create something new. You can just use the existing content that you have already got. So that's really what I wanted to talk about today, about how to build a client base as a coach. So just to recap, number 1, understand your customer, really do the research, understand them. Number 2, be consistent with your marketing, even when you're not getting engagement. Number 3, always have a call to action for them to take the next steps so that they know what you want them to do and where to go. And number 4, focus on building an email list. So this can be something as simple as delivering and sending them some free training or a downloadable PDF or a book, something that may educate them in the kind of thing that you do. It could be even a download for the last 3 weeks videos that you did, right? It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It doesn't have to be anything that you've not already got. if you're consistent in your marketing and you're consistently showing up on a weekly basis, you'll have tons of content that you can repurpose and use in your call to action for people to join your email list. Okay, so as always, I'm Rebecca Lockwood, your neuro-linguistic programming trainer. I always say as well though, it's Becky, really, it's Becky. So we are delivering some free training this week and next week, our Start Your Coaching Business training, which has been absolutely amazing. So the link to join that is in the notes if you're on Facebook. If you're on Instagram, just pop me a message for it. And we are also currently open for enrollment in our neuro-linguistic programming and breakthrough coaching training. And I can see over on Instagram we've had loads of our students join. On Facebook, unfortunately, it doesn't show me who's on here. But on Instagram, I can see that there's tons of our students on here watching. So hello, ladies. So we are open at the moment with some amazing bonuses on the neuro-linguistic programming training. Everybody who's joined us today will be getting a package out in the post from me today, so it literally could drop on your lap tomorrow. If you are on the Facebook Live with me, you can find the link to it in the notes, in the description. If you're on Instagram, you can find it in the link in my profile. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, then it will be in the show notes. So if you've got any questions about our programme and what's included and what's on there, do head over to the page. You can pop me a message on the page with any questions, or you can pop me a message on Facebook or on Instagram. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you've got some really actionable tips. And the key really is being consistent. It really is doing the research and being consistent. So yes, again, I hope that was helpful. Have an amazing day, and I'll catch up with you on the other side.